The Canadiens came into town riding a high. It sure doesn't get much better than winning 10 straight games in overtime. The trouble is the fans in this city will be expecting their team to win it all in the 5th game, and that's added some pressure to the whole situation.
We're putting pressure on ourselves. We're going to play another desperate game of hockey. There's no way we want to go back to Los Angeles. One win can turn things around in a series. Everyone knows that, and we want this to end as soon as possible.
We don't get carried away. I mean, a lot of people are saying, how come your team's so calm? There's such a bunch of kids, and they're so calm, they're so relaxed. I think if maybe my contribution to the team was to have them be like that, never to say we've won something until you really got it.
They're up 3-1, and I'm sure the whole city's excited. That's what it's all about. But you got to win 4 games. I was telling the players today that I played on a really good hockey club that was up 3-1 coming home, and the Flyers took us 7 games, and you know, this series still has a ways to go in my estimation.
We're not giving up. We'll go out tomorrow and give it everything we got and see where we're at. But obviously, there's 3 tough losses we had to swallow. We got to put them behind us and look forward. And you know, we'll play our best game tomorrow. We always do when we're desperate, and hopefully we'll get better results.
Renato good to pick up that pass. Here's Carson, and he drilled one, but Waugh had the angle on it.
Well, Patrick's a great goaltender. I think Montreal coming into playoffs knew if he wasn't great, they weren't going to go anywhere. You saw in the first 2 games against Quebec, he wasn't great, and they lost. So it's no secret why Montreal's where they're at. They've got a very good team, but Patrick's a guy that got them where they are. I don't think anyone would argue with that.
Well, he's playing like Patrick Waugh of '86, which was just simply outstanding. He's a player right now who has tremendous confidence in his ability, and you have 19 players saying, hey, Patrick will do it for us. Let's just go out and play our kind of game. We've played very well in the checking department. Why we keep winning in overtime? Well, Patrick is there. He makes the big save. Throughout all these overtimes, we had to have big saves because the opposition had some good chances, but Patrick's just been a dominating goaltender.
Both teams were given the day off by their respective coaches after the long flight from Los Angeles, but they'll be back at it tomorrow at the Forum, and we'll have a full report for you on Sports Desk. Michael Whalen, TSN, back in Montreal.
Thank you, Michael. So the Habs are in great shape to win their 24th Stanley Cup. Their first chance to wrap it up is tomorrow night. And while the city of Montreal is starting to think about a parade, Kings owner Bruce McNall says don't go asking for the permit just yet.
That's good for them. I hope we don't spoil their party too badly, you know. I might have to do a little something about that. I wonder if I'm invited in that thing at all, you know. Maybe I ought to cover that cup for them, you know. Tell Jacques, be careful. Be careful. Don't be overconfident. You never know. Bad things can happen to you when that happens, so got to be careful.
And I know his career is winding down, and for me, it's a pretty emotional moment for me when he gives me a big hug and he tells me he loves me. You know, I'm happy for him.
It's tough, you know. It was that close, and tied it 1-1 tonight, and I thought maybe we'd come back and they scored, make it 2-1, and they just played well after that, and it's really disappointing. I mean, you know, we were so close, but yet so far.
It doesn't seem right for the effort and the heart we played with and the character we have in this room to be going away losers. But again, they found a way to win 4 games, so you got to give them a lot of credit.
Very proud to be an LA King right now. Proud of my teammates, proud of my coach. We played hockey tonight, and you know, this season is still not over in my mind or in my heart right now.
Michael, you've been following the Montreal Canadiens as long as there has been a TSN. You've been in the dressing room for many, many years. I want to get your reaction as you saw the faces. Who were you really happy for emotionally at the Habs victory tonight?
Well, I was really happy for Denny Savard more than anybody else, I suppose, because all week long we've been hearing about how Denny had, you know, he had played for so many years with the Chicago Blackhawks and had never gotten his name on the cup, and this really was his last shot. And you know, just to see him hugging his dad and he was crying, you know, the emotional outpouring by him was something that I'll remember the most about going into that dressing room tonight.
I was kind of sorry to see that Jacques Demers didn't actually dress Denny Savard for this final game. Michael, I wanted to ask you something that Michael Landsberg and I were talking about earlier. Is Jacques Demers getting a lot of mileage out of some unsung heroes on this team? Big goals from people like Jean Leclerc, Eric Desjardins, Paul DiPietro, not your NHL snipers, but they come through when it counts.
Yeah, that's the secret of Jacques Demers, is his ability to motivate, especially the young guys. I can't tell you how impressed I was, especially going to Los Angeles and back with the Montreal Canadiens, to see the camaraderie that existed between all the players on this team. And in past, there's always been a little bit of a division between the English players and the French players. It's sort of a natural, you know, obviously people speak the same language, they hang out with each other. But there was nothing like that with the Montreal Canadiens this year. On Saturday, whatever it was in Santa Monica, Guy Carbonneau was going out with Kirk Muller to look at Harley-Davidson bikes. There was just, you know, they were all hanging out together, and there was a real family atmosphere. And that family atmosphere was fostered and nourished by none other than Jacques Demers.
And I think Jacques Demers made a really very important decision, maybe not that a tough one, but I want you to go back over the course of this season and focus in now on Patrick Roy. This was not vintage Patrick Roy in terms of the regular season goals against average, about 3.2, coming off a great year last year. There were people in Montreal who said trade the guy.
Oh, yeah, you know, and in fact, if you recall, Upper Deck did a promotion in which they had billboards all over the city that said "Échange Roy," which means trade Roy, and it really was a joke in terms, you know, a pun, meaning that they should trade cards of Patrick Roy. But a lot of people took that to heart, and the open line shows were like enraged that somebody had actually paid money to suggest that they should get rid of Patrick Roy. But one thing you got to remember, Michael, is that after the second loss that they had to the Quebec Nordiques, and this team was really, you know, reeling from that because they had played an outstanding first game in Quebec City, and then they had lost badly in the second game. Jacques Demers got up and he defended Patrick Roy. He said some of the players on his club hadn't shown up. He didn't point a finger, but we knew that he was talking about Vince Danfus and a couple of the other veterans. Maybe Brian Bellows might have been grouped in that bunch. But he stood up for Patrick Roy and he said, "Don't blame my goaltender. We're here because of him." And just that, you could see the spark in Pat's eyes. And I'm telling you, I never saw a goaltender so confident as Patrick Roy. He just was, every night there, nothing seemed to bother him. If you notice in a lot of times in the course of a game, somebody will take a shot. He doesn't even bother to move sometimes because he knows, as you know, as to use a baseball jargon, the strike zone. So he knows where the puck is going, and he was a very, very confident goaltender.
Excellent work, Michael.
Je ne sais pas comment ça va finir, mais la fête est commencée.
François, est-ce que tu es content, toi, de la victoire du Canadien?
Est-ce que j'y pensais, une victoire du Canadien?
Oui.
Ben, écoutez, au général, on s'est intéressé à la finale des Canadiens à cause de notre spectateur, Mike Pipelini, qui intéressait beaucoup. Si on y croyait, oui, parce qu'ils sont assez bons.
François, hein?
Oui.
François, tu n'as pas le droit de boire au travail. Merci beaucoup.
Vendredi à Parade à Sherbrooke.
Monsieur, je suis totalement d'accord avec vous. Je retiens votre commentaire. Je l'aime beaucoup. Effectivement, espérons que les gens vont garder contrôle de leurs émotions quand même, comme vous venez de le dire. Et je vous la souhaite très belle, votre parade.
Yvan?
Oui.
Je te lâche pas pour les expos. Les Canadiens ont fini, mais je te lâche pas pour les expos.
C'est beau.
Merci.
Merci beaucoup.
Ouais.
Est-ce qu'on a le temps de passer tout de suite à un autre appel? Oui, on y va. Oui, bonsoir, monsieur.
Bonsoir, Yvan. Je peux te chanter la chanson? Na, 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 na. Na, 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 hey, on the rock. OK. Moi, là, je sais pas ce que ça te dire, là. Je t'ai appelé parce que j'aime ton émission au bout, OK? Puis j'ai tout le temps essayé de t'appeler. Je pense que mon nom, il revenait à ton programme, là. Mais moi, ce qui m'a touché de plus, là, c'est exactement, là, Savard. Je suis content qu'il était capable de mettre les mains sur la coupe. Il a contribué, il a écouté son coach, tu sais, il s'est pas plaint à ces affaires-là. Je trouve des collègues qui ont...
After losing the first 2 games against their arch rivals, the Canadiens faced a must-win Game 3 at the Forum. The game went into overtime, and it was the start of something special.
When you were down 0-2 to Quebec, what was it that pulled it together for this team?
Oh, well, we knew we were coming back home and that we haven't really lost any ground. If we just 1 or 2 games at home, we'd be all right. So, that was the turning point, Game 3 in overtime, and then everything just seemed to go from there.
By the time Game 6 rolled around, the Battle of Quebec had turned into a slaughter, and Montreal had cleared a big hurdle. In round 2, the overtime magic continued for Montreal, and the Habs swept the Sabres aside, winning all 4 games by 1 goal. For the first time since '89, they were going to the conference final. In the Wales final, Les Canadiens continued to roll on, and after winning Game 3 in overtime on Long Island, Montreal had won 11 straight in the postseason and were well on their way to the Stanley Cup Final. The Cup Final was not only a return to glory for the Canadiens, it was also a renaissance for Patrick Roy. His superb play earned him the Conn Smythe Trophy for the 2nd time in his career. Roy becomes only the 5th player to win the playoff MVP twice.
Patrick made some key saves for us. He deserves the Conn Smythe. I think he played great. And, everybody played really good, and that's why we won. It's a big family in here. Everybody plays for one another, and we played solid throughout the playoffs.
But Roy might not have had the chance to be the hero if not for a gutsy call by Jacques Demers in Game 2.
That was a gutsy move by Jacques calling that stick when with a minute and a half left. We would have been down 2 games going to LA and an awful lot of trouble. I think that turned things around, made us believe in ourselves going to LA. It was still 2 games. That was it. We're living a dream.
For the 2 games in Los Angeles, the Habs turned to their secret weapon, overtime. Their OT streak in this postseason was nothing short of amazing.
Those 10 overtime wins, it is mind-boggling. There's no question about it. You can't explain it. The odds of that are slim to none.
The same could be said for the Kings' chances of winning last night's game, as Montreal simply dominated in clinching its 24th Stanley Cup title.
There's a lot of tradition here, and I tell you, the people were right behind us, and they get so excited here, and we're a great place to play, and we're happy for the people because they love hockey so much, and it's just a great feeling.
I just think the character of this team came through, and we all pulled together, and we found each other. The preparation and just the heart. I mean, you look around this room, all the famous players, and there is character, and it really helps you.
Something else that also helped the Canadiens, their faith in head coach Jacques Demers.
We played for him. He deserved it more than anybody. We played for him, and he's a great coach. He comes and plays all his players, and has confidence in everybody. And without it, I make a few mistakes out there. And when he keeps on coming back to me, and I wanted to prove him right.
From Richard to Savard, from Lafleur to Leclerc, the names on the back of the jerseys may change, but the results stay the same.
Joining us now for On the Beat from the Montreal Gazette is Michael Farber. Michael, the Canadiens said last night after their win that their victory this season was a team win, and when you look at their lineup, it certainly was.
Well, there really is only one superstar, Jim. That's Patrick Roy, and if everyone on a team is created equal, Patrick Roy was a little more equal than others. I mean, he joined some great names as a 2-time Conn Smythe Trophy winner. He didn't have a shutout in the playoffs except in overtime when it counted most. He certainly was the leader of this team on the ice.
Michael, once again, even in defeat, Wayne Gretzky managed to steal a little bit of the spotlight by alluding to the fact that maybe it's time for him to hang up his skates and retire.
Well, Gretzky stole the spotlight. Some fans stole some televisions. It was a saw-off. What was the biggest story around here? In Montreal, the biggest story, of course, is the riot. Wayne Gretzky's retirement is all well and good if that is indeed what he wants to do. But people here are very concerned with what went on after the game. There's a lot of disappointment about what happened. It happened in '86. It happened in '93. There's a certain conceit in Montreal that we're different, that we're better, that we're not like other cities. Well, now I think there's obvious proof that we are.
Were the players aware of what was happening out in the streets? Because they were all confined to the Forum, and did it have any kind of effect on their celebrations at all?
Well, they were sequestered here in the Forum, Jim, until about 2:30. You didn't want to go outside. I tried to get out of the building around 12:30, and I was really held hostage here. Montreal was our little Beirut. It was not a pleasant place. I don't know if the players did know about it, however. They were having their own party upstairs in the Forum till about 2:30.
Michael, thank you very much.
Thank you, Jim.
Well, as we mentioned earlier, the Great One stole some of the thunder from last night's Canadian victory when he announced that he is considering retirement. We'll have that and more when TSN Sports Desk continues.
Started that I'm going to give it my best effort, and as a professional athlete, I always wanted to finish on a high. I'm going to take the next week or so, try to decide what I want to do for the future. Maybe it's time for a new challenge. I'm not sure.
He's had a tough series. He's spent, most of his professional life as the greatest ambassador the game has had, which is also a full-time job. And he's got through an emotional time now, an emotional series. And I think he wants to sit back for a week and reflect upon it.
Everybody's making an issue of the contract. If money was an issue to me, I would have been in there in January getting my contract redone. That's really not the issue. The issue is whether or not I really, really do want to play again. I'm not sure.
If you'd won, would you have retired?
Well, the decision might have been a little bit easier. I think that the only thing in my career I don't want to remember it as is a has-been, and I want to go out playing as well as any player in the game, if not better. I'm not sure there's too many guys that played better than I did in the playoffs this year. Maybe it's time.
10 coaches in 10 years, 4 general managers, and that's not easy. And I just thank God that Bob Gainey gave me an opportunity to come here because he knew where he was trading me to.
This is something to see. Is there a better game in the world?
To think how many few people have their name on it. It's unbelievable, and who knows with the parity of the NHL, if you ever get a chance to do it again. And I didn't want to finish this year and say we could have did this and that. We wanted to go hard and go for it, and we did that, and no one can take it away from us.
Look at Jacques. How's that feel, Jocko?
It's the greatest feeling in my life right now professionally. When you think a couple of years ago you weren't in the game, you come back, you get your first coaching job back, and you win the Stanley Cup.
Let's get together, boys, because without being together, we might not be here. Here they are.
Happy for guys like Denis Savard, Kirk Muller, Brian Bellows, all those guys that never had the chance. And, I said it in French. I hope all the English people, I think this cup, I wanted to, there was one guy that we really missed at the end of the year. He was gone this year, and that's Claude Mouton, and I want to dedicate this cup to him.
Well, with more on the game, the Gretzky rumors, and the rest of today's highlights, our sports columnist Al Mackey joins us now. Well, as you predicted, they did it.
Yes, and now we can move on with our summer here. But, you look at the game last night, it was very predictable. Montreal playing its better defensive brand of hockey than LA could play its attacking offensive style. And they took Gretzky out of the game, and for most of the series, Gretzky did not have a good series against Montreal. And yet, even by the winning and Montreal capturing the cup, Gretzky is still the story, and now we're trying to figure out what is going to happen, what is his future. He was very sort of cautious about saying too much last night, and he sort of skirted around the issue, but he made it clear that he's going to spend this week looking over his past, his present, and his future, and look at it and say, where am I going? And it's not a matter of money. This story kind of developed earlier in the playoffs about money, that he has a deal to be the highest paid player in the NHL. He is not the highest paid player, and that Bruce McNall, the Kings owner, had come to him and said, let's redo your deal, and Wayne said, no, let's do it later. There's been some sort of little rumblings about maybe he and Bruce are not exactly as enamored with each other as before. It's hard to gauge. We don't know if it's true or not. Gretzky's made some comments like if we ever did get a divorce, it would be very complicated. We own the Argos together, we own race horses and rare baseball cards. It'd be a pretty complicated separation. However, I think Wayne wants a little bit of time to sit down and think this over because it's not a matter of money. I think it has everything to do with pride. I don't think he wants to come back in the NHL if he's going to struggle the way he did during parts of the season. And I don't think he wants to come back to be just another player. He's got records. He was the playoffs leading scorer this year. He has his 4 Stanley Cup rings. He knows that if he went out, he would go out now as close to the top as possible. And I think that's what's looking at him saying, is this an LA team that's going to get better? Will it get back to the Stanley Cup? Can I fulfill this last obligation? I don't think so. I think this was a kind of a quirky thing where they got to the finals. and they may not be back for a long time. So I think that's what he's looking at. And he said that he wants it in about a week because he needs to let the LA Kings know where he stands so that when they go to the expansion draft and the entry draft, that they'll have an idea that they got to replace someone key.
It certainly would have been an easier decision for him had the Kings won the Cup.
Absolutely. I think that would have been the most glorious stage to step out on and say, hey, I've done my thing. I've done everything I can do in LA. And I think the best indication of is, that's an LA franchise that was worth $16 million the last time it was sold. It's probably estimated in the neighborhood of $100 million now, and a lot of it has to do with Wayne and putting hockey on the map in California, getting Anaheim to come in and to expand the hockey horizons in California. I mean, there's stories now that Jerry Buss wants to get back into hockey. He owned the LA Kings, sold him to McNall, and now there are reports he says, I want back in. He wants to take a team to San Diego. Those are the kind of things that Wayne Gretzky has been able to do in California. He's sort of opened up that entire market. And I don't think that he's the kind of player, unlike a lot of athletes who hang on just for the money or just for the love of the game. I think Wayne has to be, a good player, a great player in the game. If it's not there, I don't think he wants to play.
Classy move, though, last night when he gave a stick to Jacques Demers.
Well, Jacques had to ask for it first. He went for his kid's birthday. But,
well, at least he got it.
Yeah, he got it.
He didn't have to hand it over.
On the other side, there's so many people, as the clip mentioned earlier, that were deserving and you're happy to see in Jacques Demers, because here's a guy, he had bottomed out so badly a couple years ago that he had to get a job in the media. That's bad. He's got to go to the
bad news, they tell us.
Yeah.
They know you've hit rock bottom.
You've gone to the media. He's sold out and he's gone to the other side.
Yeah.
But he couldn't get anybody to even give him an offer. Now, here's a guy who's been Coach of the Year twice and had done some good things in Detroit with a team that probably wouldn't have gotten that far without him. Jacques is a very different kind of coach, very, very motivational, and unlike some of the other great coaches in Montreal, like a Scotty Bowman. But he has his way, and it was good to see that someone who had endured so many things and so many hardships and come close so many times had finally gotten it. So for him, one of the really nice guys in hockey, yeah, it was good to see.
Patrick Waugh, you and the Montreal Canadiens just won the Stanley Cup. What are you going to do next?
I'm going to Disneyland. Different, and I really taste everything what happened. And after every win, I just take a moment to think about what happened and what you want. It was a tough year, but it's good to him.
You must feel great for Jacques.
Oh, I'm happy for him. I'm happy for him. I'm happy for Denis Savard, because those guys were great for the game, and it's good to see them at least have their name on the Stanley Cup.
It was a long 9 years, and I just hope one day that it would happen. There's a few guys here, that Savvy and Brian and myself, that played a few times in the league, and we haven't had a chance. So we didn't know when we'd ever get back, so we wanted to go for it. And we did, and geez, it's a great feeling.
It was one of our best games of the year tonight, and I don't know, we were psyched for this, and now we're going to go party.
Now, you set the tone, too, tonight, huh?
Well, not really. Kirky's, Lion, Keener, those guys, they started off with some big bangs with Johnny Leclerc. And we just come through when we had to, and it was a great game for us.
What do you think Jacques Demers feels about it now?
I don't know. Where is he right now? He's probably crying somewhere. He's happy.
It just feels great. It's the greatest feeling in my life right now professionally. When you think a couple of years ago you weren't in the game, you come back, you get your first coaching job back, and you win the Stanley Cup. I have a great group of athletes. They were small. The word was hit them. They had a lot of courage. They kept coming back. I must say before anything else, the Los Angeles Kings organization, headed by Mr. McNall, Barry Melrose, and Wayne Gretzky's, first class, and the fans in Los Angeles are absolutely wonderful. I mean that.